Hello everyone, this is 200,000 units and today I have a custom showcase of my very own custom vintage collection Clum Commander Cody. So in the rest of today's video I'll be telling you about how I made this guy, what parts I used, what paints I used, what techniques, as well as just showing off the figure in general. As I'm sure you'll realise, the base sculpt for this figure is VC45. I used the 41st Elite Corps Trooper from the Star Wars The Black Series 3.75 line. They are still fairly cheap in the UK, and I would recommend them if you want to pick up any VC45 body molds for customs. You can find them quite regularly on eBay for only about £10. Now, the other parts of the figure, i.e. Cody's helmet, shoulders, jetpack, etc., were printed for me by NDC Customs. Great guy, really happy to accommodate all my printing requests, even slightly more wild and wacky ones. So I would recommend that you check him out, and I'll leave a link to him in the description. They were, of course, originally designed by Skyloo 3D, and I'll leave a link to them in the description as well. Yeah, honestly, applying the parts fairly easy. The little comm link just slid onto the arm, so that was fine. Jetpack is glued on. The helmet is, for now, I'm not sure if you can see, it is blue tacked on. Theoretically, I might move it to our hot glue joint in the future, but it's not too pressing a concern at the moment. Most tricky part was the shoulders, because I had to shave off some of the original shoulder first. The new ones are fine, perhaps slightly ended in articulation on this side, and a bit of an ugly gap there, which is why usually I have them pointing up, so it's less noticeable. Moving on to the painting, as I'm sure you can see, I went for a weathered scheme. It's Cody, it's Revenge of the Sith. You know, every clone trooper looking like they've been in a war zone, so I thought this was a good way of replicating it. In terms of painting, the orange is done with Citadel's Fire Dragon Bright. It's a good match to the orange Hasbro's used for a lot of their 212 figures, and I'll include a comparison slightly later on. I didn't bother to prime the rest of this figure. This is standard Hasbro plastic, though I did prime all the 3D printed parts just to get the paint to stick better. Weathering effect is mostly the same throughout the figure. Dark grey dry brush followed by a dark brown wash to give him a slight orangish tinge under the right lighting. Nothing too powerful, however. He's still definitely fairly white. And then for the weathering the armor, on most of it, it's scratching with a scalpel or an X-Acto knife, just to get that slight chipping on the paint, which you can see throughout the figure. And then on the other bits of the armor that were 3D printed, it's a light white dry brush just to get that chipping effect replicated. In terms of weapon, it just gets the standard DC-15 which he uses in the film. This is just the one that came with the figure, because honestly that's the easiest way of doing things. Just give you a nice 360-degree look. As you can see, plenty of detail, grey stripes, the stripe on his leg, all that. I even included his rank badge. This was sculpted by myself. A bit of a tricky job, but not too hard. The orange dots on his lower part of his helmet are present, though I haven't included the blue stripes just because they're impossible to paint at this scale. I should probably look at getting some decals for them in the future. Onto his back, yeah, little comlink or something. Jetpack, which is just super glued on, and yeah. Good look at the shoulders and side and the head. I most of the figure is varnished with just a satin varnish, but for the metal parts, particularly these bits on the head, it is a gloss varnish. As promised, here is a quick comparison pick between my custom Cody and the 2007 30th Anniversary Collection Clone Airborne Trooper. The oranges are very similar, and I think they match up quite well, even if my style of weathering is slightly different to Hasbro's. So overall, this was a really fun custom to do. I mean, it's a great addition to any collection, considering the last Clone Commander Cody we got was over 10 years ago now, and that mold hasn't held up as well. So it's definitely one that I'd recommend you consider making for your own collections. It's not too tricky, you know, a couple of 3D printed parts, but nothing too strenuous, not a lot of heavy conversion work needed. So a good custom for beginners. And that's all I've got for you today. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.